Welcome back to the channel. Today's session we are going to discuss about Spring Boot integration with Kafka. So first we will see how producer integrated with Kafka and then how consumer is integrated with Spring. So 50 to 60% of producer will be involved with the REST API flow. Always mostly the service will send the message to the Kafka broker. That is a main concept here. So first, here if you can see that the controller sends the request to the service processes the business logic and calls the Kafka template to send that Kafka topic to the Kafka broker. This is the code. Here you can see the controller orders or controller it's a post mapping where which means that it is a placing an order. In the place order, there is a Kafka template. It is in the constructor injection and the Kafka template. Once order is placed, it sends the Kafka message order topic about the order and the event. Order event. So here you can see there are several ways to send the message. I'll explain in the next slide very clearly about this explanation. And then this is the application YAML for the producer for the consumer. So in a same service can act as a producer or consumer, where the same service can create a topic and send the topic and also listen for another topic. Both are possible. So the Spring Kafka boot, this is the broker IP. This is the key serializer. This is for the key value, which is this is the order topic is a key and value serializer where the object. So mostly in microservices, there will be JSON serializer. If it is a string, there will be string serializer based on the object. The serializer will be changed. Acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is based on has three acknowledgement: 0, 1, all. All means leader and follower both should acknowledge. 1 means leader alone can acknowledge. 0 means no one will acknowledge. The safest will be all, but when everyone needs to acknowledge, the speed of the application will slow in for the event driven also. So based on the criticality of the business needs, the option can be used. The compression type is also having 4 to 5 types. STAPI and DZLT can be suggested. So the next is the consumer one. Consumer one has always, there will be a group ID. Auto offset reset means there are two options. One is latest, earliest, whether we need to send from beginning or from the latest when the offset get resetted or some node crashes and get renewed or something like that. Enable auto commit false. This is the safest option. The true means the Kafka needs to commit. This means the application needs to do the commit. So false is the safest options. When there is a serializer, here there should be a deserializer. Based on the producer, the consumer should use the deserializer. The properties, when there is a JSON request, you should mention about the package which the JSON will come from, and the default type, what is the order event type, can also be mentioned. This is related to the securities that it can be. The listener mode can be manual immediate. There is manual immediate, and on another one is some auto. Manual is the best option. So how the machine, when the Kafka template is added, all the related configuration related to this is auto configured. It is based on the dependency Spring framework.kafka, Spring Kafka. If the dependency is mentioned, automatically the auto configuration will happen. So the key points: controller receives request and delegates to service. As I explained above, service contains the business logic and builds the events. Always in producer, service or component classes will produce the topic. Kafka template is auto configured by Spring Boot. Send is asynchronous. It is asynchronous and non-blocking. Always in send method, there will be one parameter for key. It is best to use key for ordering and partitioning affinity. That is where it will correctly identify the partition and send the message. So enable Kafka annotation is not required for producer. It is needed only for the consumer. The next slide, we can see what are the types of send method. I explained here. This is the example. I'll see what are the types here. Send the key value. This is the topic name. This is the object. It can be as here it is a string. It can be JSON object or anything. Here key plus value. So topic name, key, event. Here what is the thing is, in this method Kafka chooses the partition using its own strategy, round robin or sticky partitioner. This kind of, when it is not able to choose the partitioner, it is best for the notification simple events. For example, only for event requirement this can be used. If doesn't process the topic further for a further business logic, then at that point of time without a key it is good to use. The key usage, order events, customer events, banking or accounting. So when the key is used, the key, based on the key, the partition will be calculated and the same partition will be used. Ordering is preserved. That is a advantage. Mostly this is the one recommended. So producer itself says send only to this specific partition. Kafka does not decide the partition, sends to the specific high priority messages, dedicated partition. It is also good. So we want to be very clear in the design phase itself what partition needs to send for which topic. This is with the timestamp for event tracking. Multiple messages can be sent, multiple events can be sent in the same event. This is one bulk data, high throughput, better performance. If a single request itself able to create multiple request response, that is also possible. There is another thing where consumer will send a topic to another producer. The consumer will consume the topic and event and then produce another topic for another service. So at that time also this kind of list of events can be sent in a single call will be used. The another important thing is send and handle results and sync. When you send the method for these, we don't receive any return. Here we will receive, it is the message is sent and we will receive a send result. It's completable future object. So if there is, if the exception is equal to null, then there is no issues and the record is transferred. If there is an exception, then there is a problem. We can fail the log. This can be used for any business logic or logging monitoring or some auditing purposes. Based on that, we can use. Okay. This is the related to the send message, which we have seen already these things. Next, we can go to the consumer. So related to consumer, what are the many things? Enable Kafka. This is the first one. After that, we can go to enable Kafka. We can specify in Spring Boot application class at the start of the Spring Boot of that service or in the configuration classes. We can specify this at enable Kafka. So at if only when you mention at enable Kafka, then only it detects at Kafka listener. So at Kafka listener can be detected only if it is at enable Kafka is enabled. So at Kafka listener is sent marks a method to listen the messages from Kafka topics. I already informed you, always consumer fetches the event, not Kafka sends the event to the consumer. That is a main point. But here I'm mentioning listener, there will be a confusion for you. What happens is Spring Boot by itself handle the polling of the events from the Kafka broker. If you mention at Kafka listener, internally it consumes the messages from Kafka broker. Okay, but if you wrote in a standalone application, you want to pull from Kafka Broker, it will be standalone separate. If required, I can share the example for that also. But as of now, you can understand Spring Boot does that operation internally for us. So once that Kafka listener is mentioned, this is the topic and this is the group ID we mentioned here. So at Kafka handler is a method within the class annotated with the Kafka listener. So specify a method to handle a particular payload type when method exists. So inside the Kafka listener, in each method, what are the event that we are going to handle? We can say at Kafka handler. For example, in the same class, if I'm going to have the order created event, order updated event, order deleted event, order processed event. So for each thing, I can denote at Kafka handler and have different method for it and handle the event. That is the reason at Kafka handler will be used in the method level. At payload. At payload method parameter binds the messages payload to the method parameter. So when here if I used at payload, only the at payload related, only the content of that uh, message will be used. At header, if you want to retrieve the headers like partition ID, offset ID, all these, there are some 5 to 6 headers are there. So if you want to get that messages, you can specify separate header name with the argument. So you can retrieve that from there. Add headers, it binds all headers to a map. You can retrieve all the map headers name key with the value in a map. So you can, if you know the header name, you can retrieve the value based on this. For example, if this is the header and value. At send to, this is what's not used widely, not recommended also. It is, if I told if a consumer wants to send another topic to another to Kafka Broker, at that time this send to will be used. The limitation is if you it is a annotation on top of a method. So if you mention this topic, if the whatever the event created will automatically send only to this response topic. In the same method, if I want to send the topic to the broker for our 4 or 5 topics, that is not possible. That is a limitation and it is not so recommended to use. So this is the example for consumer. It can be at service or at component. Mostly the consumer will not come through the flow of controller, because mostly it listen for that and do further action based on the event. So it won't be like kind of controller followed by service. It is that component can also be there. So this is the sample and these are the annotations. There is also failure handling for this Kafka consumer. There are 2 annotations available for that. One is at retrievable topic, another one is at DLT handler. When the Kafka listener consumes and if there is a failure or exception during the business logic or during from the Kafka listener place, there is a retrievable topic where it will do the retrieve for with the configuration atoms back of atoms. It will do 3 times retrieve with the back of delay of this 1000 and max delay of 10,000. So this is the retrievable topic. If this retrieve also fails, then the message will fall to the dead letter topic, which the DLT handler will handle it. So if you see in the retrievable itself, there will be DLP to suffix. When the topic fails, the topic will be suffixed with the hyphen DLT. So it knows that there is a failure happened, dead letter topic. The dead letter topic can be logged or audited or processed further in a different way. It is based on the business logic. At DLT handler is used for such failed handling from the consumer. So, for example, if you here see that order topic, first delivery items. So order retrieve 1, retrieve 2, retrieve 3. Then the topic name will change to order topic DLT, det letter topic when all items fail. This is same YAML configuration which we have seen already. Yeah, so that is the concept here. That's it. So now we can see for the real-time example that I have a base producer. I have one of investment management where from the controller, I created the investment, updated the investment, deleted the investment. So whenever there is an investment created, I'll call the service, investment service, the investment service. The investment service, once the investment created, it will automatically create an investment event producer. So it acts as a producer and creates for this is one of the event. For here, I have a created event with my investment ID, which user has that investment amount invested. And it sends a Kafka message with the Kafka topic name created and with the key and the event ID. This is the producer. And in my application YAML, I just defined only my Kafka broker name and the IP and the uh, serializer. What is my serializer? This is more than enough. So this is my producer. Now who is my consumer? Consumer is my notification service. Here it is a at component, and here my investment consumer at Kafka listener, my topic is investment service, group ID is notification group, and I have consuming the event created. So I'm sending to send the email notification and the audit log. So in consumer, so it will send to my event service. So it will send the investment created, the send the mail and also log the service. So this is my consumer. So you can see my consumer YAML here. So I have given my bootstrap server alone, the deserializer will be automatically taken. So Kafka is the base one that you want to mention in both of your pom.xml. The Kafka common is the wherever the constants that I need for both the producer and the for the consumer. I have created the common service which is not a it doesn't do any receive or process the request. It is a API can be used in both the places. Okay. This is a simple example that I have for you. So if you have any questions or clarifications related to Spring Boot integration with Kafka, you can share it in the comments. I will reply to you. Thank you once again. We'll see you in the next session.